How did Sandy Neck fare during last week's nor'easter, and how did the storm affect the recent Dune Replenishment project? We talk with Sandy Neck Beach Park manager Nina Coleman about that, and also get a few tips on where to spot the elusive snowy owl. On this episode of Barnstable Today, it's Friday, January 10th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mantle.
This time last week, we were kind of in the middle of a pretty significant blizzard, nor'easter. Talk to me a little bit about how Sandy Neck fared during last week's storm.
All right, so I had a lot of concern about the storm. They were advertising it as a direct hit. In other words, the wind right out of the north at the high tide, which was an extreme high tide at 12.2, which is very big. Fortunately, it had swung around by high tide, and it was more out of the northwest, and I think that might have saved us a bit. However, we did have, a certain amount of dune taken away by the waves, which is expected. And unfortunately, the handicap ramp, the bottom of the handicap ramp, sailed away right at high tide. I was able to retrieve that in the surf about a mile and a half down the beach, and we are evaluating how to put that back together, or even if we should bother till after the storm season.
Exactly, but overall, not a huge amount of significant damage, which is certainly good, when we're thinking about winter storms.
No, not. I mean, now we have Nemo. Last year's, I believe it was a February storm. Now I have that as like my benchmark, and it wasn't anything near that. So we are doing just fine at Sandy Neck so far this year.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit. I know that a dune replenishment project was just recently completed over there. Lots of cool images from that. Big front end loaders, etc. Did the storm have any impact on that work that was just done?
Yeah, it did take the toe of that away. So the project was about 3 weeks ago. It was really great to see sand put on our beach. We amended the dune, or built the dune up right in front of the parking lot, both the upper and lower parking lot. And of course, that's the area of concern because it had been eroded really far back from last year's storm events. So we put 5,500 cubic yards of sand. CC Construction did it for us out of Dennis, and they put it and packed it in right on that front dune. It was a lot of 10-wheelers, about 200 10-wheelers of sand came down and then dumped that in the parking lot, and then that was transferred down onto the beach with a different set of equipment, and then like I said, packed down on the dune. And certainly makes a park manager breathe easier knowing that we have that extra protection. And as luck would have it, only a few weeks later we had this incoming storm. And, we'd lost a chunk of it, but that was expected. We still have a nice amount of protection for future storms. And that dramatic dune face will slump down and become a little more natural looking as the days go on. And so I think we fared pretty well. And I do want to take a moment to say that when you do these projects, in some respects, that it could be sacrificial sand. In other words, we knew that a future storm might take away that sand, but spare us damage to our natural dune. And it was eroded so far back that I believe that this storm could have caused some major issues to our parking lot. So because of this project, we were able to get through this storm comfortably and future storms comfortably, even though some of it goes out to the sea and it seems like a waste of money. It is not. I assure you that rebuilding a parking lot is an extremely expensive endeavor.
Absolutely, and we know that Mother Nature is pretty powerful when it comes to sand and moving things around. So I think the more that's there, the better. And certainly, as you said, much less worry about losing a little bit of sand than losing a big chunk of parking lot, which, as you said, is much more expensive to repair and replace.
Much more expensive and kind of hard to even do because of the permitting situation. We have what we have, and we know through the process of building our bathhouse and looking to expand our parking lot that we are extremely limited in what we're allowed to do at Standing Neck, understandably, because such a sensitive ecosystem. It's got every designation in the book, but our best bet is to retain what we have and keep it all safe and be able to keep providing parking for our residents and visitors. And that's really the, and in addition, in the parking lot is our septic system, another thing we need to be really careful with. So it was, in my opinion, a very important thing to get that sand on ASAP, and it did its job.
Absolutely, and so that project is complete, and certainly looks cool. And as you said, it'll get a little bit more natural looking as the months go by.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll bleach out too.
Exactly.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about winter on the beach, Nina. Of course, we know Sandy Neck is it's ever changing all year round. Tell me a little bit about. Let's start maybe talking about the wildlife. What have you seen out on Sandy Neck this winter?
Yeah, Sandy Neck wildlife in the winter is fabulous. We of course have all the migrations that have pretty much gone past at this point, but it's a great place. You'll see birders up in the parking lot watching. A lot of different species going by. The big thing this time of year, now that we're into January, is the snowy owls. And generally we have one, maybe two snowy owls, and they're generally, over the years, and this is like my 11th winter, they're way, way out by the point. But as you probably have read in the paper, the snowy owls are kind of all over the Cape this year in large numbers, and no different at Sandy Neck. We have upwards of 5 snowies, and it's a huge draw. I'm not sure where the information is being handed out to the public, but there's no driving down the beach. There's no walking around in uniform on the beach without people approaching and looking for those snowies. So come on down. I will give you the hint. Right now, it changes up, but right now the best is to hike down Marsh Trail, and we're pretty consistently seeing one at about 1.5 miles, Trail 2 on the backside on the Marsh side. That's for hikers. That's a long hike.
This time of year, absolutely.
Yeah, well worth it. And then for folks with permits, we're seeing an owl pretty consistently down by a little bit before Trail 4, through Trail 4 to Trail 5 area. And I slipped in a picture, Sarah, of an owl kind of tucked behind a piece of driftwood.
Yes, we've got that on the screen right now.
Oh, wow, we're so coordinated. And I did that because that's what they do. They pick a piece of driftwood or beach debris, and then that's where you're going to see them every day. And they just stand there like, this is my hunk of wood. And that was from past years, but you really need to keep an eye on those sort of up by the toe of the dune pieces of driftwood, and you might be lucky enough to see one. And then really consistently, if folks have the off-road vehicles permits, they can park at Trail 6 and then hike out east, and there's usually 1 or 2 all up in that habitat. So they're crawling all over our beach. Fabulous.
It really is. It really is cool. And Nina, how long are they generally around? Do they migrate here for the winter? Why is it this time of year that we see them, or are they kind of here year round and they go somewhere else during the summertime?
They're here. They're overwintering here, and then they're going to go north in the warmer season. So we're kind of in the height of the season here. We'll probably see them into February, but generally once the weather starts breaking, they're going to disappear. So now is the time to get out
Coleman
there.
says any hikers trying to spot the snowy owl should give the owls some space as they are shy and don't want to get too close to humans. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.